This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Hampstead Gardens for this 1v1 between the red Marked of Kane in the north. This is BikeRush owns. And his opponent in the south, playing the purple, playing the Zocom. This is R1LDCOM. Marked of Kane versus Zocom. Not something we see every day. That is definitely not a super common matchup. It is a classic GDI versus Nod with BikeRush owns representing the red Nod. But Zocom, bold choice, going against BikeRush's Marked of Kane with Zocom. This replay was sent to me quite some time ago. It is played on R22, but I've been busy with work and family stuff, and so let's just hope that it's good. If you have been following the channel, I don't know, a week or two ago, I casted a Red Alert 3 game, and I was like, I'll just put out one quick video. Game turned out to be an hour long. I was not looking for that, but it was an entertaining time, if nothing else. EMP going to be locking down that MCV. Maybe we'll get an APC and see how many three-letter acronyms we can stack up in this game of CNCKW. Did he just... Oh, I think he just blocked the shot that his own rifle squad had. I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't make a difference in the game. But his power plant placement there, I think, cut off the line of sight for his own rifleman from the sold-off watchtower, which is one of those minorly inconvenient and somewhat tragic moments all at the same time. Ultimately, doesn't have any real effect on the game, but one of those little missteps that many of us make from here or there. By the way, this is the version of Hampstead Gardens that does have the Tiberium spike moved. So in the original version of Hampstead Gardens, it's over here where this little Havoc statue is now. And instead it got moved a little bit closer. It was just a little bit too far away was the general consensus. We'll see how far away these bikes are from getting a kill. Power down of the War Factory right before something pops out. It was going to be a pit bull, so before the pit bulls actually can engage, he does power that down. Nicely done there by R1LDCOM, honestly. That pit bull would have come out, would have got one popped by all of the bikes and the buggies, and that would have been -1 pit bull. Rather, he waited until he had his full force ready to go. And yeah, he ended up losing some pit bulls regardless, but he pushes off the bikes and the buggies. He did go War Factory first at this natural expansion, unless my eyes deceive me, and meanwhile, BikeRush owns did go Refinery first. Second War Factory in the main base, though, so both players sitting on that 2 War Factory build. Harvester low on health, but still very much alive. First pit bull does go down. More pit bulls going to be getting targeted as they get EMP'd as well. And these bikes absolutely massacring the pit bulls. The numbers are not trading evenly here as BikeRush owns whiffs that last EMP, but he's got more than enough value out of these units to whiff an EMP here or there and have it still turn out okay for him. 2 more pit bulls will end up going down. R1LDCOM gives them over to their graves. What do we got coming out for R1LDCOM? I'm a little concerned. He seems to be unaware of how much firepower is about to descend upon his base. Pitbull gets popped basically immediately. Harvester down to about half HP, but the watchtower, low power mode, it doesn't matter, as R1LDCOM is actually scary enough to push away BikeRush owns for now. And he's not just heading into the main base. He may do that in a few seconds, but he is making quite a large loop around and spending a lot of times not attacking. A couple of rocket squads, a couple of riflemen being mixed in here. BikeRush owns now sitting on 2 refineries, adds the operations center as well. And I guess he's going to finish off this tip spike. He stopped attacking it for a moment there, and now he's back to it as well. Tip spike goes down. pit bulls in mass ready to tango with these bikes. The dance steps can be tricky when one side's got EMPs, and Awakened squads do decent damage to pit bulls. They do pretty good damage to all of those early game units. And the pit bulls now pushing forward onto the other side of the map. The follow-up by R1LDCOM. It is not going to be airfield just yet. It's straight to Tier 3. He's got himself the command post. He's got himself the tech center as well. So those Tier 3 upgrades can start rolling in if he chooses to go for railguns, if he wants to be really insane and try and go for Firehawks versus Nod. But anything can happen. We could even see mammoth tanks. The dream is alive. But I think we all know it'll probably just be, I was going to say Juggernauts, but I forgot he's played Zocom, so who knows what he's going for. Pit bulls and mortars is the current play. That one rifleman squad causing a lot of mayhem for these attack bikes. Tier 3 is up for both players. Obelisk gets deployed, instantly kills off one of those pit bulls, and it's the multi-MCV life for BikeRush owns. He's been a lover of this build. I mean, everybody is honestly a lover of this build for quite some time here in Kane's Wrath, but BikeRush owns is one of the best to do it as well. Sometimes winning only with obelisks, it feels like. Pit bulls coming back in mass with mortars. They will be able to clean up these buildings relatively quickly. We'll take a couple of volleys and not a second obelisk. I thought he was going to be able to get a second obelisk up in time, but he is not. A little bit of friendly fire coming in from these pit bulls, popping each other, as well as taking down that obelisk. Bikes, if they get caught by the mortars, they get shredded by that damage. But they're also pretty good at dodging those mortars as the bikes dance back and forth, back and forth. BikeRush owns not going for an expansion of his own behind this, so he is a little bit behind in that third base timing, but he's got supercharged particle beams to make up for it. We'll see if it actually ends up paying off for him, because right now he's keeping the harvesters off of the field. R1LDCOM, he believes in the power of the mortar, but he's having a hard time actually hitting his target. He's having a hard time actually knocking down these shredder turrets as they are finally getting chipped away at. One is still online, and BikeRush owns, he may have lost an MCV, he may have lost this foothold on the right side of the map, but he's done a pretty good job of delaying his opponent from actually doing anything with this expansion. Sooner or later, you gotta make a move if you're BikeRush owns, and that move is going to be an aggressive one as he pushes forward onto the front line of R1LDCOM. Instead of going for the left side of the map, which is safe, which is open, which is free, BikeRush owns heads right for his opponent's third base. Where's that epic unit coming out from? What's going on? There it is, all the way back in the main base. That MARV, as the pit bulls descend upon the natural expansion of BikeRush owns. It's been here for a while, and it's just now featuring its second attack. Supercharged particle beam going to be making relatively short work of those pit bulls, knocking them down one by one, chipping away at those health bars. But the MARV is out. The delay tactics have begun. Avatar is going to be stomping all over the third base of R1LDCOM. And well, R1LDCOM says, I don't really need a third base. I have the biggest harvester you've ever seen in your life. I don't need small harvesters. The MARV is what I need. AP ammo inside of these watchtowers. It's good, but it's not quite kill 3 avatars good. 4 avatars as they stomp over with their teeny tiny little chicken legs. But the MARV, he's got big fat legs, and he is ready to suck up all of that Tiberium. Mortar's going to be moving in. They will get the jump on one obelisk of light. A second volley of mortars knocks it down. EMP only catches a single pit bull, and well, that pit bull should... Does he escape? No way that pit bull escapes a single Tib core missile. Knocks it down. I was a little bit worried that BikeRush owns was going to let someone BikeRush him, as the number of times I've seen BikeRush over the many, many years that I have rested my career upon his shoulders, the many years I've been casting BikeRush, it seems like for whatever reason he has a ridiculous number of units survive with just barely any HP. and he just pulls them off that quarter second early. That allows them to survive. Then they go and heal up. They get back into the fight. Pitbulls knocking down a couple of these attack bikes. Trade one harvester, but that's, again, not the biggest deal. When you got a MARV moving around the map, when you got a MARV heading for your opponent's natural expansion, already harvesting up the majority of your base, putting R1LDCOM 10k ahead, total resources gathered, of his opponent. BikeRush owns likes to think he's the king of the Kane's Wrath economy, and most of the time that is true, but this MARV has got triple Zone Raider inside of it, and he is chewing up the battlefield. Bikes swing by, another harvester dead, another harvester in the ground, and, well, that Tib core missile makes short work of those green Tiberium boys. They are harvesting for their life, but BikeRush owns is also gonna have to keep trading positions on the map because he is sending nothing back home to defend against this MARV, which means more and more of his infrastructure is about to get leveled, and sooner or later he is going to have to defend his home, or he's just gonna have to pack up and move along. The answer will be defend the high ground. EMPs coming in. The first one gets knocked down. Second one gets eliminated by the hammerheads, but they do trade. Third EMP does land, but can he keep the chain going because the Tib core missiles are now here, and the more uptime that this MARV has, the less bikes that are going to exist on the map. Every second that goes by is more and more dead bikes as the cavalry arrives. Not often is it Pitbulls saving a MARV from the edge of destruction, but the Avatar is too slow to get a laser in on this fight. The Awakened squads get leveled, and BikeRush owns has now got multiple fronts that he has to fight on. Fortunately, supercharged particle beams are going to be making short work of the infantry attack in the south. R1LDCOM's not going to be getting an easy win out of this one. He's going to have to fight for it, and he's going to have to fight for it in a better way than just throwing a couple of infantry at the front line. The MARV escapes for now. It will live to harvest another day. Into the corner goes the Pitbulls looking for that harvester. And as the Orca Strike comes in, landing massive damage onto two harvesters, down to about half HP, both of them. It occurs to me that we have seen very few one-clicks over the course of this game. BikeRush owns resisting the urge to drop those powerful nod one-clicks. R1LDCOM resisting the urge. Both players sitting above 3K, so they've got a bit of cash in the bank, and it will not be an engineer going for the capture of this tip spike. It'll instead be a suicidal pact of these Pitbulls. They don't actually do splash damage to themselves, so they do all survive that engagement. War Factory gets sold off. Riflemen getting targeted. The Venoms could be blasted by these rocket squads. And there it goes. The first Venom dies as the second one rolls up to this fight. And the mortar is going to be leveling the main base. What the MARV couldn't do, they will finish. Pitbulls are good, but they can't be in two places at once, so the main base is getting sacked by these Tib core bikes. Refineries being sold off, and the hammerheads, they stop the attack, they push it back, but they trade every single hammerhead back for it. That is a lot of hammerheads just down the drain. Rocket squads and sniper teams, finally, the unit comp is complete as the MCV has moved once again for BikeRush owns. He has abandoned his third base as the Tiberium on the map has completely dried up. Almost nothing remains easily accessible for these two players. The main base and the natural expansion. Now the natural expansion being pushed out as R1LDCOM faces the constant moving MCV of BikeRush owns. He never seems to stay in one spot for very long. Avatar's moving forward. R1LDCOM is about to be losing control of his natural expansion, but he has also cleared out the main and the natural of BikeRush owns, so maybe they can just do-si-do and swap places, and that will be good enough for both players. The Harvester going on the crush. Those snipers, those rockets, those riflemen not lasting very long. And unfortunately for BikeRush owns, he may have lost his Tib spike, but Fortunately for him, there is still a tib spike to be taken there in the south. Harvesters getting jumped on tib core, an incredible upgrade for any NOD player to take advantage of, and especially this NOD player as BikeRush owns his bikes are suddenly so much more powerful than they otherwise would be. A couple of awakened squads standing strong against the tib field suit riflemen. Eventually they do get cleaned up there. APCs now out on the map. Perhaps they will get EMP'd as the MCV watches on. EMP locks down that harvester. Avatars showing up. This is a triple EMP on one harvester. BikeRush really wanted to make sure that he got that kill. Hand of Nod? Hand of Nod, there we go. Hand of Nod does get deployed by BikeRush owns. And win or lose, this has not been a straightforward fight. I was a little bit worried with a BikeRush owns in the title that R1LDCOM would just roll over and die, but he has been matching BikeRush owns pretty much every step of the way. And normally BikeRush owns is the leader in economy. Whatever game he is playing, he's almost always ahead in eco, and that is largely where his advantages come from. He's relentless in his attacks, but he typically has the good macro to back it up. But in this case, R1LDCOM is outstripping BikeRush in economy. Total resources gathered, thanks to that MARV, is in R1LDCOM's favor by a decent amount. Beam Cannon is out. MCV has now been caught up with by these forces. What are they? They're going for the harvesters. I thought for sure they were just going to insta-pop that Conyard and knock it down. BikeRush owns is going to try and pull off a defense here. A little bit here and a little bit there. A couple of bikes moving through the middle of the map as well. Supercharged particle beams versus APCs. And it's going to be Watchtowers. The MARV not getting in on this fight, even though he should be on the front line, knocking down that MCV, stopping these base defenses from going up. EMPs can now be joined by the Awakened squads as they get produced freshly onto the front line from dual barracks right here to save this MCV. The side armor exploding as the bikes rock up to the fight, and the beam cannon still trying to find a target from afar. The MCV for BikeRush owns stands strong against the onslaught of Zocom. The APCs nearly in range, and just a couple of more shots would finish it off, would stop any additional buildings from going down. The beam cannon being pushed away, the pit bulls being knocked back. BikeRush owns holds on to his MCV, but little else as this fight rages on. The MARV not overstaying its welcome. It got a little bit exposed out in the open versus those bikes, and he decided to step back to play it safe and to hold on for a moment. BikeRush owns out of cash, out of time as the MCV falls. He's going to need to pull something off to make this one work. As it turns out, having more money is a good thing. BikeRush owns still has 3 avatars and a lot of EMPs remaining. He can sell off a number of these buildings to get some cash, and if he gets the EMPs just right, you're going to be looking at a dead GDI army. R1LDCOM, can he seal it up? Can he close this one out? His own economy in shambles, very little cash in the bank, very few harvesters out on the map as well. He's got a MARV, so he's got an infinite harvesting machine. If he knocks down the War Factory, that's kind of the end of the production for BikeRush owns. He may have that tib spike, but he can't build much with it. Bikes coming in, trying to find that side armor. Heroic bike getting a couple of shots off here, doing massive damage as the EMPs locked down that MARV for so long. The War Factory falls, but at what cost? The beam cannon still finding its mark. Its sniper team's mostly on the ground. The hit and run of that single bike, popping a shot and then backing off as the MARV goes down. BikeRush owns finds the angle, and he finds the laser powers that are just enough to knock down the epic from R1LDCOM. The piecemeal army that remains, the harvesters coming in for the crush, the stacking damage of that one heroic bike being massive as R1LDCOM can't finish off that single bike. It dodges in and out, it weaves, and it hasn't taken any damage hardly at all. The avatars finding those targets, dual beam avatar burning down the base of R1LDCOM, and everything falls for the Zocom player. one after another until the GG comes out. And against all odds, BikeRush finds the win. Are you kidding me? That was stupid. I can't believe he won that game. Ludicrous mode as that bike earned its keep and those avatars brought it home for BikeRush owns. R1LDCOM within inches, but not able to close it out. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And this is Sybert signing out.